Okay, so week 4 of the NFL season is in the books. It feels weird to say that we're not now a quarter of the way through the season, now that it's 17 games. I mean, even before it'd be 17 weeks, but through 4 games, everyone has played a quarter of their season, so you know what I mean. But it just feels a little weird, like this is a fourth of the way through, but not technically actually anymore. And I meant to record this yesterday. I try to get these out on Tuesday, but I'm going to be honest, I was just really tired and exhausted yesterday. I just didn't get a lot of sleep that night. But perfect time for a yawn. But that yawn notwithstanding, I feel a lot more awake. I feel a lot more alert. So I wanted to do my weekend review video today and hopefully still do my picks today. If not, I'll do them tomorrow before the Thursday night games. I feel like at that point it's it's kind of technically too late, but regardless, I will go ahead and say up front, I was not above 500 this week. I was actually at 500. I went 8-8 in my picks, which, yeah, generally that's not going to get you into the playoffs. I think there's been a few times where an 8-8 team has, and a couple times where a team even below 8-8 in a weak division. But this was not a playoff season kind of week for me. Essentially, what happened where there were quite a few games where like the Packers, Lions, Packers, Colts, Rams. I think there might have been like another one or two where I looked at the game and was like, okay, I could see this team winning for A, B, and C reasons. I could see this team in reasons for a reason. Like, it was like my head was telling me, based on what I know about these teams and just kind of looking at it from a logical perspective, this team should win. But my gut is telling me this team is going to win. And there have been quite a few games this year where my gut has told me something and I stuck with it and I was right, or I didn't stick with it and I paid the price. This week was, if I went with my gut, I was generally wrong. There were a couple other games that I did also kind of switch, but that was because my head told me, no, Houston is going to beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is just not that good. My head told me, no. The Seahawks are going to beat the Giants. And then even like the Cardinals, 49ers, that was another one, which was less of my gut was really telling me, and it was more just, I want to just go with the chaos pick. I want to speak it into existence. My gut wanted me to pick the Jets. And I almost did. I was like, I can't. I fucking can't. And I almost paid the price for that one, kind of bizarrely enough. But it was kind of an interesting thing to happen throughout the week. But getting to the games themselves, first off, the Lions went to Green Bay on Thursday night and beat the Packers 34-20. In a game where it's weird, because on the one hand, I want to say it wasn't even that close, because the Lions were up 24 points at halftime. But it also was that close because the Packers started making a comeback. It reminds me, because I actually didn't watch this game. I was surprisingly, I actually had something I was doing on Thursday night, which I'll talk about tomorrow in my Room Talk video, regardless. Oh, excuse me. It reminds me quite a bit of that Eagles-Vikings game we had on Thursday night a couple weeks ago, where the Eagles were in control the entire game. And I don't know if the Packers ever led in this game. Like, I don't know if they ever took a 3-0 lead. But, like, I hadn't, because I was doing something, I did not know anything about this game until, like, I checked the score at halftime. I was like, what do you mean it's a 24-point game? What the fuck? And then I was able to follow it a little bit more in, like, the fourth quarter and, like, the last few minutes. I was like, okay, the Packers are kind of making this a game. Well, never mind, the Lions just got a turnover. The Lions just got a touchdown. The Lions just got a field goal. It was like whenever the Packers were kind of starting to make it interesting, the Lions were able to do something to keep their control of the game. And to me, that says a lot about both teams. It shows that, yeah, the Packers they seem like they're kind of a second half team. Because I think like their first half against the Bears, like it was, I don't remember if it was tied at halftime, but at the very least, it was pretty close, and then they exploded in the second half, 17-0 for 3 quarters against New Orleans, and then scoring 18 in the final quarter to win, scoring 3 in the first half against the Lions, and then scoring 17 in the second half. The Falcons was kind of like the exception to that. Or even then, though, I think they did most of their scoring in the third quarter. So they do seem to come alive a lot more in the second half of a game, which is good. You want a team to play its best in the fourth quarter, like, when the game is really on the line. But on the other hand, you want your team to also play well through the first three because those still count for something. Theoretically, I say that because we've seen crazy comebacks. Like the Vikings came down from 33 against the Colts. 28-3 happened. Like, what was it? 32-3. Like, all that kind of shit. Or was it? No, it was 35-3, wasn't it? Because it was a 32-point comeback. Yeah. It's like those first three quarters generally matter. Like, the first half and shit. But you know what I mean. Like, you want a team to play well all four quarters, both halves. But I guess I'd rather be better in the fourth quarter than in the first, because how you start, it's how you finish. But anyway, I'm getting into a cyclical fucking conversation of dialogue. I hated exactly how that sounded. A conversation of dialogue, as if there's any other kind of dialogue. Oh my gosh, maybe I am more tired than I think. The point I am trying to make, the Packers being a second half team seems to be their identity. That might not be sustainable. They are 2-2. The Lions are, they're 3-1, with their only loss being a really close, like, nail-biting game against the Seahawks, who are also 3-1 and are a good team. The Lions defense, which I was like, I don't know if they're really that good. No, like, they came alive last week against the Falcons. I guess 2 weeks ago against the Falcons. They really put on a show last week against the Packers. The Lions are a better team than even I thought they were, and I already thought they were a pretty good team. They're certainly not a lock for the NFC North. They're only one game up against the Packers. I mean, game and a half because they beat them once. But they still have another game to play later on Thanksgiving, which will be in Detroit. So you would think the Lions have the edge, but the Packers generally have a habit of winning in Detroit, but that's also more of an Aaron Rodgers habit, so we'll see how that carries over. But the ownership of the Bears certainly carried over. But good win for the Lions. Not taking a stranglehold of the division, but definitely having a division lead. And right now, I would say they look like the best team, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. I feel like I almost said that backwards. Like, I said it and I was like, wait, did I say that correct? No, I did say that correctly. Is there anything else I really wanted to say about this game? I don't think so. So there we go. So like I said, I'm 8-8, so I'm not really gonna go into what my record is going through, but like 0-1 right now, I guess. The next one. What the fuck does that even say? Oh, okay, I didn't even see the first part of that. That was the Falcons versus the Jaguars. The Jaguars won 23-7 in London. I was able to watch some of this game, and I watched the Toy Story broadcast. So I'll say this. The actual regular broadcast of the game, where it's like, all right, all the players are like little toys and shit, like the little army men. That was kind of cool. I kind of dug that. I thought it was pretty fun. And then, yeah, you've probably seen the highlight of toy Bijan Robinson just, like, juking a man out of his ankles, and it's badass. Again, like, I feel like I say it every week. This dude is filthy. This dude is really fucking good. I'm kind of, like, I'm not terrified that the Saints have to play the Falcons twice this year. I'm kind of terrified, though, of Bijan Robinson twice a year. Like, I can be honest about that. But, I mean, this game also showed why I'm not scared of Desmond Ridder. Like, he throws a pick six, and then literally the next offensive snap, he throws another pick. And granted, I watched the Toy Story version, so it looked like he kind of just threw it right to a dude. I haven't seen the actual plays, so maybe it is more just a really good play by the defender. But that's not really encouraging. But, yeah, the Jags ran one of those back for a touchdown. The other, they weren't able to score because they went for it on, like, 4th and 1 and 4th and 2 from, like, the 15-yard line or even closer. They just didn't get it. Which, it's not like they were hurting for points. Again, they won by, like, 16? 23-7. Yeah, 6 plus. Yeah, they won by 16. Sorry, I did the math in my head. I was like, that sounds right. Hold up. And then my brain just stopped. Again, maybe more tired than I think. But that happened. The game wasn't the most engaging, mostly because like there were a couple drives where the Falcons were like, oh my god, they actually have offense. They can move the ball. The Jags weren't super exciting. Again, watching the Toy Story version, but they were able to do some shit. Calvin Ridley did have a good touchdown. There were parts in the broadcast where I would see like a quarterback throw the ball and it would hit like right on the, like it would like hit the dirt. And I was like, oh, that's an incompletion. And then I would hear the commentators going, and that's a completion to Evan Ingram. How? It didn't even hit his dude. Like, all right, we've got some technical issues. Like there's one where it was the Falcon. It was like a fourth. I don't remember if it was like 4th and 10 or something. But they're in the red zone. They're trying to score. Ball goes to Drake London, who catches it, but his foot is out of bounds. He doesn't technically catch it. Turnover on downs. And the commentator was saying, it's like, oh, he caught the ball, but look at his feet. It looks like he was out. Doesn't matter. Watching it on the broadcast, it's the ball is going, but it hits the ground while there's a defender right in front of the receiver. So I look at it and was like, oh, it's incomplete. Well, it is, but not for the reason I thought it was. So it was weird. Also, whenever someone did a kick, like either a field goal or an extra point, they had these blocks set up, and so it hit the blocks. And I was like, oh my god, he doinked the kick. No, the kick is good. Oh. I guess that's just how we're simulating field goals. I mean, that's fine, but, if you hit the thing, that doesn't mean it went in. It means it hit the thing, and depending on the angles and, like, the, I don't know, sine, cosine, and tangent, maybe it doinks in, maybe it doesn't. But what the fuck? But the thing I have to bring up, the toy versions of real people. Of Pepper, I believe, was the name of the sideline reporter. That was terrifying. I don't remember the name of the play-by-play guy. I want to say it's like Drew something. He was kind of scary. Toy Booger McFarland was horrifying. I don't know what it was, but I was like, why? Why, Booker? Why would you, like, because it was October 1st. I remember at one point, because, like, I was able to watch the game before I went to work, because, London and shit. And then Clay comes in, he's like, what the fuck is that? I was like, this, Clay, is the perfect start to October. Because this is nightmare fuel. And I love it. But, good win for the Jags. Like, both teams are now at 500. Where the Jags have had kind of a weird 5. It's like, win game 1, lose 2. It's like, win a game 1 against a division rival. That's a good start to the season. Lose to the Chiefs. Sucks, but understandable. Dropped a game at home against a division rival where you were the favored team. Although, I mean, Houston kind of looks better right now. But then able to kind of right the shit back in London, which really is a home game for the Jaguars. The Falcons, 2-0, and now they've lost their next 2. So we'll kind of see how they are, if they're able to rebound just fine. I don't remember who they're playing next week off the top of my head. I know the Jags are playing Buffalo, which on the one hand, I'm like, oh, Buffalo might just kick their asses because, oh shit, Buffalo's on fire. But it's also another London game. So while I believe it's another London game, so while the Bills kind of have to adjust to the time zone, the Jags are like, nah, we're good. We're fine here. This is our second home, and we've been here for a week. So they might have an edge because of that, but we'll see how it goes. But good win still for Jacksonville. Next to the Rams and the Colts, where the Rams won 29-23 in overtime in a game they led 23-0. What the fuck happened in this game? So I was looking at the score, because I'm at work, but I can look at my phone every now and then. I'm like, all right, what's going on? Oh, okay. I was like, the Rams are killing them. My head told me to pick the Rams. I should have picked the Rams. I knew I should have picked the Rams, but my gut told me to pick the Colts, and the Colts are getting their asses kicked. Oh, 23-8. I mean, they can. They could tie it. They could take the lead. They're probably not gonna. But I mean, 23-15. That's only a one possession game now. They could do it. I don't know if they will, but they could. Oh, it's 23 all. They tied it. Oh my goodness, my gut was right. Holy shit. Dude, the Colts are amazing. Big Tony is back. Like, he actually was able to finish a game. I'm so happy for him. It's like, damn, Big Tony's balling out. And the Rams are collapsing. What the fuck? But then in overtime, I mean, not even just in overtime, just throughout the game, it's the Puka Nacua show. And yeah, he scores the game-winning touchdown in overtime. They get a walk-off. And I'm like, so I should have still picked my head. But what did I learn about both teams in this game? I feel like despite the fact that the Rams won, I don't really know how much I can trust them. Like, this is still a good team. This is still a team with good players. I don't like how they let got tongue tied for a second. I don't like how they let the Colts hang around. Like, they didn't do that to the Seahawks week 1. It's like the second half, they were dominant. Against the 49ers, like, okay, well, that's two really good teams. Shit happens. Against the Bengals, I didn't see it, so I really have no idea what the fuck happened in that game. But it was still, like, close throughout. It seemed like it was a game where the Rams just couldn't capitalize on some of their opportunities. This was, you were up 23-0, but you didn't finish them off. Because I think they had like 2 missed field goals, which either one of those, the game doesn't go into overtime. I mean, again, maybe the Colts end up playing a little bit differently down the line. Who the fuck knows? But it's like, it probably doesn't go into overtime if you make at least one of those. I think the Colts also had like a missed kick or 2 of their own, which if they had made one of those and the Rams still missed their shit, they would have won in regulation, which is crazy to think about given how dominated they were in the first half. But it also really does show me the fight the Colts have. They didn't win, but they came back. Last week, they were in a battle with the Ravens, which I think also the weather in that game was like really shitty, which probably didn't help either team, but they were able to win that kind of game. They won a division game against Houston, which now looks a lot more impressive given like how fucking great CJ Stroud is. Really put up a fight against Jacksonville. Like, this feels like... Put it like this. Okay, the Colts remind me a lot of the Cardinals, where, like, I don't know how many wins this team is going to get, although I feel like the Colts are probably a better team than the Cardinals. But it is not going to be easy to beat them every week. They're going to give you 110%. It's like, what do you know? Those Eagles coordinators are actually, like, pretty fucking good coaches. So, like, good win for the Rams because they got it done. I feel like almost every week I'm a little bit more impressed with the Colts. So the AFC South might be a really fucking fun division this year. But like everyone is actually, yeah, I think everyone is 2-2. This is gonna be a really fun division now that I think about it. Next, it was the Ravens beating the Browns 28-3. There was no Deshaun Watson in this game, and you could tell. I don't remember the name of the Browns quarterback. I just know his initials are DTR. I know he played like shit. I think he had like 2 picks, maybe 3 picks. I think he was sacked like 8 times or some shit. Did I write down? Okay, I didn't write down how many times he was sacked, so maybe it wasn't actually that crazy. But, like, yeah, there was no Deshaun Watson. They had no touchdowns. Lamar had 4 total. He had 2 through the air, 2 on the ground. His numbers, like, actually looking at them, like, his yards and shit, it's like, it wasn't crazy. But, again, like, if you win by 25 points, your numbers don't have to be crazy. When your defense is getting you turnovers, you're in shorter fields, your numbers probably aren't going to be as crazy. But they did what they needed to do, and they won a division game on the road. And not for the first time this season. They're 2-0 in the division, both on the road. Next week, they play Pittsburgh, which on the one hand, I'm like, okay, it's still a good Pittsburgh defense. at least theoretically. They really know Lamar and Harbaugh. Steelers win. But on the other hand, I'm like, this Ravens team isn't perfect. They are injured as fuck. Which, that's a day ending in Y saying the Ravens are injured as fuck. But do I really have that much faith in Pittsburgh? I don't know. And if the Ravens win that, then they're 3-0 in the division, all 3 games on the road. With the floundering Bengals, that's another leg up on the Steelers. The Browns are very up and down. It'd be kind of like the Lions. Like, you don't have like the stranglehold over the division, but you have a very definite and strong lead. As for the Browns, again, I don't remember who they play next week. They might be off, because next week is when we start having buys. I think Tampa, Seattle, the Chargers. Yeah, I think the Browns are the other team that has a bye next week, although I could be wrong about that. They need that for Deshaun Watson, to make sure he can come back, but I mean, he definitely has been playing better than their backup played last week, but it's not like, oh man, this dude is so good. Oh, okay, let me say it like this. I don't mean that in a way where I'm like, oh man, this dude is, like, I want him to be healthy. I have my issues with Deshaun Watson, but I still don't want to see a man, like, be injured. But even if he's healthy, it's not like he has been so elite that he can save the Browns' season. But again, their season, they're 2-2, like it feels like most of the NFL is. So it's not like they're floundering. It's like they're in panic mode. They need to be saved. But a few more losses, a few more games where your quarterback throws like 2 to 3 picks, and you're not scoring any touchdowns, you might need to be saved pretty sooner rather than later, especially with what happened to Nick Chubb. But good win for the Ravens. Next was the Vikings beating the Panthers 21-13. The good news is the Vikings didn't fumble. And what do you know? In the game where there were no fumbles, the Vikings won. That seems to be we've cracked the code. Kirk Cousins also threw 2 interceptions. So it's like, well, you didn't fumble. You still gave the ball away twice. I think this was the first game where his numbers were really shitty. I don't think I wrote them down, which I should have, but he had like 200 yards or less. Justin Jefferson didn't have a whole lot of yards either. But they were still able to do what they needed to do. Bryce Young did play. I think this was like statistically probably his best game, which, yeah, it's against the Vikings defense. That tracks. But it was, let me try that again. Even though they lost, it's good to see at least some degree of progression for him. There's a part of my brain that kind of wonders, like, if Dalton played, given like what he did to Seattle last week, would they have won that game? But at the same time, the Panthers, their season is not about winning. It's about, this is our guy. We want to see him do well. We want to see him improve. We want to see him get those reps. The sad part for the Panthers is they don't have a first-round pick this year because they traded up to get Bryce Young. And they're one of the only 2 teams in the league without a win. The other being the Bears. And if they have the worst 2 records, the Bears would have the number 1 overall pick and the number 2 overall pick. And I checked. That has happened twice before in history. It was, I think, 1992. The Colts had the 1 and 2 pick. And then it was like in, I don't remember what year. I want to say it was like 37, something like that. It was the Cardinals. The Chicago Cardinals. Like, that's how old this shit was. They had the first 2 overall picks. So, it'd be cool to see history repeat. I mean, at that point, you either get 2... I don't want to be mean. Justin Fields, though, might be playing his way out of Chicago. Like I say, as he had like a good, and we'll talk about his game specifically. But it seems like Chicago's probably got a clean house after this year and after this season. So if they get the number 1 and number 2 overall pick, it's probably like, all right, well, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., so we have a really good quarterback, and we give someone really good to fucking throw to. Where would they send Fields? I mean, they could keep him as a backup, but I feel like they would probably just ship him somewhere. Where would Justin Fields go? Well, I was going to say, like, hell, maybe the Vikings would take him, like, depending on what happens with Kirk Cousins. It's like, all right, are you really going to trade your former franchise quarterback to a division rival, but you're cutting him because he really wasn't a franchise guy? Like, maybe. Maybe he goes to Arizona, depending on what happens with Kyler Murray. But I feel like if the Cardinals don't get Caleb Williams, they probably just keep Kyler Murray. Anyways, I'm getting really distracted, especially because I'm talking about Fields and the Bears when this was about the Vikings and the Panthers. It really was just that the Vikings didn't have much of a passing game today, but their running game actually did well. I think Madison he didn't crack 100, but he was at like 90 something, and overall, like, they had a solid amount of yards on the ground. Sorry, I was just thinking if I had any other notes. Like, not really. Like, Bryce Young didn't throw any touchdowns, but he didn't throw any interceptions either. So, I mean, you take what you can get. He had about 200 yards, so maybe this wasn't his best game. Because I think he had more yards week 1 against the Falcons. I think he threw a touchdown in that game too, but he also threw 2 interceptions, which kind of lost in the game. So you can make an argument like, did he do better week 1? Did he do better this week? He didn't play week 3, and he certainly didn't play well against the Saints. But he at least threw a touchdown at the end of the game because soft zone can... I almost said some really bad shit, but I hate soft zone. I made that clear. Anyways, Vikings won. They're finally on the board. Although it was a lot closer than I thought it would be. Bengals-Titans, the Titans won 27-3, proving I don't fucking know anything. It's not like I thought, man, the Bengals are really, really good, because the Bengals have been, pretty fucking bad this year. But like I even said in my picks video, it's like every time I see a highlight of the Tennessee offense, it's actually Tannehill getting sacked or throwing a touchdown, or throwing a pick, because it's actually a highlight for the other team's defense. Tannehill had a good game. Like, I think he was still sacked. I think he was sacked like 3 times. I think they sacked the Bengals like 7 times in this game. I feel like that's something I wrote down, but I didn't because I guess I'm just an idiot. But yeah, their offense fucking went to work. Their defense, which is a good defense, completely shut down the Bengals. I remember before the season started, it was like when it came out that Joe Burrow had that calf injury and no one really knew. It's like he's going to be out, what they say, like a few weeks, several weeks, and no one really knew. It's like, so is he going to be ready week 1? Is he not going to be ready week 1? And I think Jamar Chase had more or less said, paraphrasing, "We got this. You can rest." Which I feel like there's a couple ways you can interpret that. Way number 1 is, go ahead and rest. Make sure you're good. We will do what we can. Maybe we'll win them all. Maybe we won't. But when you get back, then we can dominate. Even if we lose the first 4 games, you come back, we'll win them all. And then we'll be 13-4 and probably get the fucking 1 seed. We're fine. The other way you can interpret it is, we're gonna win them all. Or it's like, we're gonna win the majority of them. So it's fine. It's even more fine. We've got this. But with Burrow playing, and it's an injured Burrow, and that's important. With an injured Burrow playing, they're 1-3. And it's not, I feel like the fact that he's out there every week, it's not helping him heal. So you don't have that, all right, they have a bye, which hopefully that'll help for them. But it's not like, oh man, you guys are doing really well and he's healing, or you guys are doing really well or he's healing, because at least one of those would be good. But they're just kind of fucked. I'm like, it really doesn't feel like a hot take right now saying that the Bengals will miss the playoffs. Now, granted, it's still early. There's still more or less 3/4 of the season to play. The Bengals have a whole fucking 14 games left. No. 14 plus. Yeah, they have 13 games left. Excuse me. Which theoretically, yeah, if they run the table, they probably won't. They have the Chiefs, the Bills. Do they play? Oh yeah, they don't play the Dolphins, but they play Houston, which boy, that does not look like a gimme game. They've got the 49ers, the Cardinals. Actually, no. Do the Bengals have a bye? I don't think they do. No, because I think they're playing Arizona next week, which I'm going to pick Arizona. I feel like right now I genuinely trust the Cardinals more than I do the Bengals, which is not something I thought I would say at the start of the season. Like, holy crap. The Bengals don't look good, which does really show this team goes as Burrow goes. I mean, offensively, which, like, yeah, no shit, offensively, you're going to go as your quarterback goes, unless you're, like, a Derrick Henry or Adrian Peterson-led team. But, because the defense is still, like, doing well. I mean, he gave up 27. That's not a great number, but also, I mean, if the offense isn't doing shit, there might be some short fields, and your defense is going to get tired. I'm a Saints fan. I know what that's like. It's not too late for the Bengals. Like, you're only a couple games out of the division. If most of the league is 2-2, you're really only one game out of a wild card spot. But while some teams seem to be trending in the right direction, like, it's weird to say the Chargers are, because even though they've won their last two, they still won them in weird Chargery ways. I just don't think this Bengals team is... Right now, they don't look very good. Maybe I'll eat my words at the end of the season where it's like, no, yeah, they won 13 straight games. They just won the Super Bowl. Boy, I look stupid. Or I'll look right. I really don't know. But then we get to the Bucs and the Saints, where the Bucs won 26-9. They won, like, they were certainly the better team that last week. The Bucs, it was almost like a third down didn't matter because they were just converting. They were like 8 of 12 or some shit. Might have even been a little better than that on third down. Saints defense couldn't get off the field. Saints offense couldn't stay on the field. There was this one part of the game, which, I mean, it's not necessarily that this is what turned the game, although it doesn't fucking help. But this was the game in a nutshell. Mayfield leads the Bucs down the field. They're in the red zone. They're going to score. But they don't, because the Saints get an interception. So now on their own, like, 4-yard line, if not closer, they run a short running play. It's like a fullback dive, and he fumbles the ball. Bucs recover, and then score a touchdown. That is the game in a nutshell. The Bucs playing really well on offense and staying on the field. And even if they make a mistake, the Saints fuck it up. They did not score a touchdown in this game. They seemed to kind of catch fire a bit more in the second half and could move down the field. But the red zone offense has been dog shit all year. It was dog shit last year too, so it doesn't matter. They can't score a touchdown. At one point they had like the ball again, fumble, Bucs recover. It's like any chance the Saints, or like any time the Saints maybe had momentum, it was gone. The offense was terrible. Derek Carr was terrible. He was injured. Sure. Kamara looked fine. It was good. Glad he was able to play again. There's a part of me that goes like, okay, like I appreciate you playing through injury. I appreciate you being tough and wanting to be out there for your team. If the injury is affecting you like that, you should not be playing. It's like the Burrow thing. You need to rest. That's why we have a backup. Like, yeah, it's a division game. It's a big game. It's an important game. I would rather you like lose the battle to win the war, and your health is something that helps win the war. And B, if your injury is actively keeping you from playing well and you're playing like shit, then it's better if you don't play. Again, you can heal, but I was like, that's why we have a backup. That's why we kept Jameis. And yes, Jameis is Jameis. He can have games where he can have an incredibly efficient game. He can have like a huge, high volume, crazy numbers game. He can also throw 3 interceptions to the other team kind of game. It happens. But I still, like, if he's healthy and Carr actively isn't, I would rather let Jameis play until Carr is healthy. So I don't know what his status is for next week. I don't know what the Saints status is. We were 2-0, and I'm like, even then, I was like, we're 2-0, and I'm really excited, but also, like, we don't look great. Like, the defenses were still really good, but, like, this offense is worrying me. There's problems. And then after the choke last week against the Packers, I'm like, oh, fuck. We should beat the Bucs, but the Bucs are also still good. But, like, it should be this low-scoring game. Well, it was low-scoring for one of the teams, so I was half right. It does not suck to be a fan of my team. What sucks is that I know my team. You're like, this seems about right. This tracks. Like, this is the kind of shit that I was expecting in the Carolina game. Like, this is the kind of game it feels like the Saints are going to lose and, like, do stupid shit to find a way to lose. Like, this team is 2-2. They could easily have been 3-1. Because I feel like this is a game where, like, no, we just kind of got our asses kicked. We still could have beaten the Packers. We could have been 3-1. We also easily could have lost to the Titans, so we could have been sitting at 1-3. It's weird because it feels like we're lucky to be 2-2. It also feels like we're unlucky to be 2-2. The Bucs, on the other hand, feel like they are a very strong 3-1. They weren't going to beat Philly. Philly made that very clear throughout that entire night. But that defense, the defense did what they needed against Minnesota, and so did the offense. Like, both sides, like, I guess that's what it is. Like, this feels like a good team. This is a good defense. This is a quarterback who's pretty mobile, who can make the right plays, has a great receiving core, and plays with so much heart and so much moxie. I love Baker Mayfield. I hate that he's a Buccaneer and that he's playing well as a Buccaneer, but I love Baker Mayfield and just, like, the energy he gives a team, the fucking spark that he can give a team. It's like, I'm happy for you, but now I'm sad for me. Bah! It's like, why couldn't you have stayed in Cleveland? Which, that's not on him. I mean, he was the one that eventually said, I want out. But, I mean, that's because they're like, yeah, we want to get Deshaun Watson. Even after all this shit. And he's like, yeah, then fuck you. I want to leave. I don't blame him for that at all. I think he was 100% in the right to do that. But, moving on to the next game, which was the Bills beating the Dolphins 48-20. This is kind of another one of those games where, like, I was originally going to pick the Bills. I was like, I should pick the Bills. Both teams are really, really good. But it's in Buffalo. It feels weird to say I feel a little more confident with the Bills because the Dolphins just scored 70. But for some reason, it's like, I know I need to pick the Bills. But I was like, the Dolphins scored 70 last week. I can't pick against them in good faith. And they got blown out by 28 points. Still a good team. Still one of the best teams in the league. They're 3-1. So are the Bills. And really, it feels like what's been happening this season is that first game against the Jets happened where Josh Allen played terrible. It was, 3 turnovers? No, it was 4 turnovers because he threw 3 picks to the same dude and fumbled the ball. Terrible game by Josh Allen. And the internet let him know, and the media let him know. It's like, you can't do this shit. The last 3 weeks, he hasn't. There hasn't been, like, the crazy Hero Bowl because, the running game isn't playing really well. The defense has been playing well, which, granted, I mean, the defense played well week 1. Like, you didn't have to compensate for them. They were playing Zach Wilson. And aside from, like, one great touchdown, which wasn't a great throw, it was a great defensive play by Garrett Wilson, which, like, he tipped the ball away and then tipped it to himself. I love watching Garrett Wilson play football. But Josh Allen he's been doing what he's supposed to do. Not turning the ball over and still like a great completion percentage, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. He had 4 this week? It was 4 or 5. It was 3 to 4 through the air and then 1 on the ground. He's right now, quarter of the way through the season, Josh Allen would be my pick for MVP. The Dolphins' offense has been insane, but even the 70-point game, Tua had a great game. That was the running backs just running all over Denver. That's not really on Tua. Justin Herbert has had great games, great numbers, but they're 2-2, and they easily could be 0-4. The Bills are 3-1, and they feel like they could easily have been 4-0. And Josh Allen, despite playing terrible week 1 and being the reason his team lost, has been on fire the past 3 weeks. I'm this. He right now, to me, looks like the MVP. You can make an argument. It's Joe Burrow is the MVP of the league because he's injured and playing like shit. And now his team looks terrible. It shows his value to the team. But, you can say that about almost any quarterback. Or any, really, really good centerpiece of a team's core. But I think my pick right now, I would say Josh Allen. Let's see. Okay, so this is the Denver game, 31-28, which I counted this as getting wrong because I had even said, I was Denver should win this game. If any team is going to lose to the Bears, though, it's going to be the Broncos because the Broncos will find a way to lose, or the Saints because I hate myself. But the Broncos are the team that would find a way to lose to the Bears. So if I'm picking either of them, I'm picking them, but I am picking a tie. I am officially picking a tie. If it does not end in a tie, I am wrong. So I counted this as a loss. I'm so close to overtime. The Bears were up 28-7. I was oh my God. Denver, I said you would find a way to lose. I was serious, but I still wasn't think you actually would. Fields has thrown 4 touchdowns. Fields has been terrible this year. Great for him having a great game. But God, Denver, your defense is so bad. You're so trash. Why? What the fuck happened to you? But then they came back. I think they're down 7. Fields fumbles. Return for a touchdown. Tie game. I almost said Browns. Bears drive down the field. It's 4th and 1, 4th and 2 from the 15. They decided. So I think what happened was they were trying to draw the Broncos offsides. Didn't work. Called a timeout. Then came back out. Ran a play. Play was stuffed. So now it's a tie game when they could have taken the lead. Which I've seen a lot of people be why the... I think there's 3 minutes left in the game. It's why the fuck would you do that? Well, if you kick the field goal, you are up. But you might feel man, we can't stop the Broncos anymore. We need to get a touchdown to make them need to score a touchdown. And we're right here. If this was 4th and 1 from the 35, maybe you still go for it. It's okay, let's go ahead and take the kick. Maybe it was 4th and 5 from the 15. Let's go and take the points. It's 4th and 1. We're losing our grip on the game. Yes, points help, and in hindsight, of course, you would take the points. But I feel wanting to go for the score there, trying to get the touchdown, let's convert, is not a terrible idea. But alas, they didn't get it. Broncos go down the field, kick a field goal, get the lead. Fields then takes the field, throws an interception, game is over. Justin Fields finally played like an MVP, a lot of, I guess, Bears fans were really saying throughout the season, he's going to be MVP, we're going to be good, we're going to be good. He had that game, but he still lost it. He had the game-tying fumble and the game-sealing interception, but they also wouldn't have really been in that game without Fields, so it does go both ways. Denver finally won. I'm shocked. I'm happy for him. And I keep saying, it's I can't pick the Broncos, which is another reason I said it was going to end in a tie. I was I literally cannot pick Denver. I just don't trust them. But it doesn't mean I can pick them now that they've won, because you have to show me consistently. arguably the two worst teams in the league. I say arguably because like Carolina is still pretty bad. I wouldn't even argue that Arizona is one of the worst teams in the league. Yeah, they only have one win, but again, like they're a tough fucking team. That's a team that they got fucking killers on that team, man. They're gonna pew pew pew. I know I gotta say that shit every week, but I love it. Like congratulations, you won. You almost didn't. Which, I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Almost doesn't count to what horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear war. I think that's how I've heard that phrase. So it doesn't matter that you almost lost, but you did almost lose to the Bears. I'm happy that you won, Denver. I'm not impressed that you won. I want you to impress me. But they still got on the board. And, I mean, I don't know if the Bears are upset. They're like, oh no, our draft position is way better now. I don't know if the Bears, I don't think the Bears are trying to tank. I think they're just bad, which is honestly really sad. Because, I mean, again, like they had the number 1 pick last year, so that is just really fucking sad. After that was the Raiders against the Chargers. The Chargers won 24-17. It happened again where the Chargers had the ball, 4th and 1, deep in their own territory. They went for it. They didn't convert, and the Raiders had a chance, but they lost anyways. The Raiders drive, I think they get to like a 1st and goal at like the 3, throw an interception, or like they throw a pass, it's intercepted. It was a great play by the corner. What he does is instead of just running like straight for the side, like run until they catch you, like try to burn as much time as possible. He like pretty quickly slid and then ran out of bounds. I don't even remember if they said like he was down when he slid. If they probably should have. I was like, why would you do that? Why don't you, I don't know, try to drain more clock? Like it reminds me a lot. It wasn't the same outcome of I think it was, I want to say it was Micah Hyde. Might have been. Maybe it was like Clinton Dix, but I want to say it was Micah Hyde. During the Seahawks-Packers NFC Championship game, where the Packers had that like great collapse. There was like 4 minutes left. Russell Wilson throws another interception. That was either number 4 or number 5. I think that was his 5th. Because he threw 5 total. I just don't remember which one this was. It's caught by a Packer. And he starts running. And there's a lot of open field in front of him, but he slides down super early. And I remember the commentators, this was a Buck Aikman game, because, it was on Fox, which that now is like a really dated sentence now that they're on Monday night, but regardless, he slides. And they're like, that's a really smart play by him. He went ahead and slid, he's not trying to do anything stupid, like he could have risked like fumbling the ball or some shit. I'm like, the fuck do you mean that's a smart play? If there's like 2 minutes left, sure, go ahead and do it because the offense can start kneeling. The game is over. Barring, like a miracle at the Meadowlands, If he's surrounded by dudes, go ahead and slide to make sure you don't fumble. I get that. Remember that Chargers-Patriots game from years ago? Where I think, was that Marty? I don't remember if Marty was still the coach or if it was a different coach. Who literally tells his defender, when you intercept the pass, immediately get down. Don't try to do anything. He intercepts Brady. He doesn't get down. He starts running, and then he fumbles it, and the Patriots recover, which means they recovered it down the field, and because there was that change of possession, it's a 1st down for the Patriots, and then they win the game, because, of course, that kind of shit happens to Tom Brady. It's like, yeah, Tom Brady is a phenomenal fucking player, but, man, he is, like, the most fortunate dude to ever play football. It's insane. But regardless, it reminded me of that, where it's like, sliding there was not a smart play because you still could have killed more clock by running. And in that NFC Championship, it's like you had at least like 15 yards ahead of you. You could have given your offense a better position with the ball because the game isn't over yet. It was like a 1-score game. It's like you you might want to go a little deeper to at least try to put them in field goal range. I mean, at that point, I think if he had gotten those extra yards, it wouldn't have been field goal range, but you can get them closer to it. And what do you know? I think the Packers went 3 and out. It's like they definitely didn't score, and hey, what do you know? The game wasn't fucking over. Now, like I said, different outcome here because the Chargers were able to get a first down and win the game. I don't remember if it was a fourth down play or not. I don't think it was. I think it was a third down. They were still able to win. I'm like, you went full Chargers, you survived, and then you kind of almost made those mistakes again. But they're 2 for 2 in the last 2 weeks, and not only winning, but doing something monumentally stupid, giving the other team the win, and the other team saying, no, you can have it. Which, good for them, I guess. I mean, it's not even I guess. It's like, it is good. They still won. Khalil Mack had 6 sacks in this game. Like, holy fucking shit. I had to check that twice like it was Santa Claus. Like, what do you mean? Like, I know it's Khalil Mack. The guy's a beast, but... I'm a big fan of the Rich Eisen show. I watch it, like, all the time. He's one of my favorite, like, football guys. And I think it was yesterday he did a video. It's like the most disappointing teams of the NFL season. Some of them, you're like, all right, yeah, the Bengals got to be on there. The Bears, like, that was his number 1 team. I'm like, I don't know if I would say they're disappointing because for me, I had no expectations for the Bears. I thought, yeah, this team had the number 1 overall pick and then they traded it. Like, I don't think this team is going to be very good. So them being 0-4, like, I was expecting more from Denver. Whoops. So, like, to me, I would consider them a disappointment. But after he had his 5 teams, I don't remember who everyone was. His number 0 team were the Raiders. He's like, who thought the Raiders would be 1-3? I'm like, me? If not, I mean, I guess not. I thought they would have been 0-4 because that was the 1 week I picked Denver to win. But I picked them to lose every other week, and they have. Do the Raiders have a good defense? No. Do they have, like, a really elite quarterback? No, they have Jimmy G, and, like, Jimmy G is fine. But even with the 49ers, it's like, yeah, but the 49ers had an elite defense and an elite running game and an elite offensive coach. Jimmy G was never the reason they were winning. Yeah, like, he threw, like, 9 passes against the Vikings in a playoff game, and they won. He barely fucking, I mean, I can't say he barely did anything because he still, like, made some important plays against the Packers. They didn't win that game because of Jimmy Garoppolo. They won the game because of their special teams, but mostly because of the Packers special teams. The fucking Super Bowl against the Chiefs. He did not play well that game. I think he threw an interception against the Rams at the end. I don't remember if he threw more than 1. It wouldn't surprise me. But it's like, Jimmy Garoppolo is not a guy where I'm like, you've got a quarterback. It's like, yeah, you've got a pretty solid dude. Like, if you have Jimmy Garoppolo starting for your team, you have a really good backup as your starter. You have a guy that's probably not going to lose you a lot of games, although he can. But, I mean, Josh Allen lost a fucking game for the Bills week 1. It happens. But Jimmy G is not a guy that's going to lose you a lot of games. He's not going to go out and win you a lot of games either. It's like, that's their guy. The defense isn't very good. Their best defensive player is not playing for the team. Like, I don't even really know what the fuck is going on with Chandler Jones. And their coach is Josh McDaniels. And if last season taught me anything, if the tenure in Denver taught me anything, if him taking the Colts job and then going, never mind, taught me anything, don't trust Josh McDaniels as a head coach. The Raiders are fucking bad, and I don't expect them to be good. I don't know who they're playing next week. I don't know if they have a bye or not, but I feel like the Raiders are kind of one of those, like, yeah, why would I pick the Raiders when I don't think they can win? I was confident picking Pittsburgh against them, and Pittsburgh does not look very good. So there's that game. The next one, Arizona against San Francisco. San Francisco won 35-16. At one point, it was like 21-16. The Cardinals made it closer than it looked. The Cardinals are a good team. They're not really a good team, but like they are a very tough out every week. The 49ers broke they're no longer a team that averages 30 a game because they scored a little more than 30. It's like they're averaging 30 plus, of course. But it's like they didn't score 30 against the Cardinals. They scored 35. McCaffrey scored 4 touchdowns. He was a beast in my fantasy team was crazy this week. Like I had McCaffrey, I had Puka Nacua. Jalen Hurts had a great game for my fantasy team. AJ Brown did too. I was like, we finally got to win, baby. But yeah, like the Cardinals are tough. They're not super good. I picked them for chaos, not because I really thought they'd beat the 49ers, and the 49ers are a fucking juggernaut. They are an unstoppable force and an immovable object, and I'm really excited for that Dallas game this week. New England against Dallas. 38-3. I had picked New England. I was like, Dallas is probably the better team. I would say Belichick is a better coach. The Patriots won last week. I mean, they played the Jets, and the Jets are in a great position right now, and they always beat the Jets. But maybe this is the kind of thing to kind of help them. I mean, they were really close week 1, then they were really close week 2. Maybe they've kind of figured out those problems and then can tweak it. Oh, okay, Mac Jones just threw the ball all the way across the field. It was intercepted and returned for a touchdown. That was awful. I think he also had like a fumble return for a touchdown. I think he threw another pick. He was benched for Bailey Zappi. I don't know if that's permanent now. Boy, the Patriots looked bad. It was like that Shannon Sharp shit, though. Like, just call in the National Guard. Get in the Minutemen. We are killing the Patriots. Like, that is what Dallas did. They destroyed them. They broke them. And I'm like, man, I'm starting to really question Belichick's job security. I will say, I'm not one of those people that's like, Brady was clearly the reason for the Patriots' success. Like, without Brady, Belichick is nothing. It's like, well, he won 2 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator. Granted, he had LT, but Belichick is a very good defensive coach. Some of those Super Bowls, the defense played like shit, and Brady and the offense are what kept them in the game. There are other Super Bowls where Brady and the offense played like shit, and it was the defense that kept them in the game and won them the game. It goes both ways. I don't think Brady would have done as well as he did without Belichick. I don't think Belichick would have done as well as he did without Brady. Yes, you can make the argument. It's like, well, what do you mean Brady wouldn't have done as well as he did without Belichick? He went to Tampa and immediately won a Super Bowl. No Belichick in sight. Yeah, he still had an elite fucking defense. Like, it was almost like he never left New England. Even in the Super Bowl itself, like, I think there were still some deep shots, but a lot of it was just kind of the shit I would normally see from a Brady offense. Like, a lot of throws, like, behind the line of scrimmage or, like, checkdowns with the characters. That was weird. With the players, like, really making a lot of yards after catch. The defense being fucking elite. It looked like he was still in New England with the way that team was set up and were playing by the end. And again, you make an argument, it's like, well, the reason it looked like New England is because they had Tom Brady. Sure, when your defense limits Patrick Mahomes to 9 points, a lot of that is also on the defense too. And it's like, I remember watching that game and it's like, I don't feel that impressed with how Brady is playing, but I am super impressed by the Bucs as a whole. But regardless, Patriots got their asses kicked. The Chiefs and the Jets. This game was fun. This was such a fucking fun game, man. Zach Wilson played his heart out. And I had picked the Chiefs to win. And like, my dad's a Chiefs fan, so I normally root for the Chiefs. I was rooting hard for the Jets this game. I wanted to see chaos. I wanted to see an upset. It was 17-0. I'm like, well, Chiefs are doing what they got to do. They're dominating. That's a safety. It shouldn't have been. The face mask was outside of the end zone by like that much, but still, it shouldn't have been a safety. But like, okay, Jets got 2 points. It's something. And the ball. Go down the field, kick a field goal. 5 points, which is my favorite number to see in football because how fucking rare it is. It's like, how many points do they have? 5, like the amount of minutes until Namek explodes. This is the shit I thought of like immediately, just that fucking Frieza pose. I was really happy to see the 5 points, but very nearly a touchdown. Then Mahomes just decided to play like shit. It was like Mahomes at the start of the game was on fire. In the fourth quarter, he was on fire. Because, I mean, a lot of that was like his running ability, but like he was playing well. The middle 2 quarters was like him in the second half against the Bengals 2 years ago in the AFC Championship, where he just forgot how to play football. Terrible interceptions, like terrible underthrows on the interceptions. The offense was completely out of sync, and the Jets were clawing their way back, and they tied the game. I was like, oh my goodness, they're actually playing really well. Like, the defense is balling out. The offense is doing shit. Like, Wilson is making some great throws. Sure, he missed some. I mean, I think even that one, like, deep shot he missed to Garrett Wilson, I think they still scored on that drive. Like, they still got a touchdown, so it's not awful. The Conklin one is like, okay, Wilson definitely could have thrown a better ball, but it was also in the receiver's hands. It's like, you could have thrown that way better so he could have made the catch, but you still could have caught it. It's like, you guys were like that close. And then on the 3rd and 22, Mahomes converts when he runs 25 yards with his legs. And the refs missed a big hold. They're like, that shouldn't have happened. And then they called the hold on Sauce Gardner on the interception. Like, that did not look like a hold to me. I've seen so many comments about, like, man, the officiating was terrible. Clearly rigged for the Chiefs. The Chiefs' bias is crazy. Mahomes getting bailed out. The Jets also shouldn't have had that safety. The Chiefs were also called for a lot of offensive holds. Like, it wouldn't have been 3rd and 22 if not for a holding call. There was also a horse collar called on the Chiefs, which was a really dumb, bad call that shouldn't have happened. The bad calls did go both ways. So I don't want to be like, yeah, the officiating is why they lost. But I really didn't like that holding call at the end. Like, that, I did not like that. Like, the one in the Super Bowl, I thought was fine. It's like, I get it, like, the circumstances and everything, but it's like, it's a clear hold. I didn't see it in this play. It's like, that felt like a phantom call to me. I hated it. But at the end of the day, like, the Chiefs, or like the Jets had a chance to, like, tie or take the lead. So it was 23-20. Wilson fumbled the snap at midfield, and they never got the ball back. And he even said after, he's like, that's my fault. That's on me. But with how well he played, like, you could see other players, like, coming up to him, like, at the end of the game, just, like, patting him on the chest, patting him on the back. This felt like because there have been a lot of reports about how it's like, man, like, the locker room is ready to fucking mutiny because they have Zach Wilson as their quarterback. Even though they lost, this felt like the game where they rallied around him because of how well he played, and even though they lost, and like, he's taken the accountability, and Aaron Rodgers was there, and it was like, I don't know Zach Wilson, I don't know what he thinks, I don't know how he feels, but it almost felt like Rodgers being there. It's like, I gotta make my big bro proud. Like, he did so much for me in the off season. Like, now I'm in this position that I really am not supposed to be in yet, but he's here. I can't let him down. Like, what would bro do? It was like some Gurren Lagann shit. It was awesome. And it's like, I really, really wanted him to win, and they almost did. It would have been wonderful. Like, I could actually, I mean, you know how, like, in college where a team, like, the fans will fucking storm the field after a win? I could see that happening if they beat the Chiefs. Like, if they went down the field, didn't throw that if he didn't fumble it, like, they kicked a field goal, and they're able to stop the Chiefs, and the game goes into overtime, and Zach Wilson throws a fucking walk-off touchdown bomb to Garrett Wilson, like, the stadium would have went nuts. People might have actually stormed the field. Oh, it would have been wonderful. But alas, reality is often disappointing. The last game, speaking of disappointing, Daniel Jones. Giants lost 24-3. Wait, was it 24 or 27? Yeah, it was 24-3. I almost picked the Giants, and then I was like, no, wait, they suck. Seattle's good. Seattle's going to fucking win this game, and they did. Giants had a chance down 14-3 to make it more interesting. Throws a 97-yard pick six. Has another interception. Has a fumble. is sacked 10 times. And granted, their offensive line is terrible. You're like, you can't really be a good quarterback when you're on your back every fucking quarter, like every snap. I get it. But also, like, he had time on that interception that went all the way to the house. That was on him, and that was awful. Like, Dable was mad. He was fucking heated. I don't blame him, at least for that play. Like, yeah, that was 100% on your quarterback. I don't want to be that asshole. I don't want to be someone who's like questioning other people's money and whatnot. But I was like, why did you give Daniel Jones that big extension? You really should have just given him the you should have just tagged him, or like a 1-year deal. He had a good season last year. He went to the playoffs, won a playoff game. But I am not convinced. Basically everyone is not convinced. He needs to be able to do it again. And if he does, like if he can go like 2 years in a row and play really well, limit the mistakes, score a lot of touchdowns through the air with his legs, even if they don't make the playoffs this year, but it's like he's really still bringing it, give him that big deal. Go for it. But they pulled the trigger too early, and they didn't really want to pay Saquon. And this game is the perfect encapsulation of why they should have and why they shouldn't have. They should have because, what do you know, the year where he's fucking healthy is the year they went to the playoffs. The year where Daniel Jones could rely on Saquon Barkley is the year where he only threw like 5 picks and had a great year. Not an MVP year, but like a great year for him. Without him, it looks terrible. Granted, the offensive line is a fucking turnstile. That doesn't help. But without being able to rely on Barkley, he does not look as good. On the other hand, this is why you don't pay Saquon, because he wasn't there. He's injured. Second game that he's missed. Injuries have been a major problem for him throughout his career. It's like, yeah, we love you on the team. You're really fucking good. You helped us get to the playoffs. We can't rely on you. The best ability is availability. It's like there's some play, like I remember saying this with Lamar too. Like Lamar has not finished a season the last 2, maybe 3 seasons. So I get why you wouldn't want to give him this crazy record-breaking fully, I don't think it was fully guaranteed. I think a lot of it was. I don't exactly remember. It's like, I understand the Ravens' hesitation. That's your guy, and you know he's good as fuck, but you also know he's not always there, unfortunately. But for Lamar, I'm like, I get why you want all that money. That's what you're worth. And if that's what you think you're worth, go fucking get it and don't compromise. Because of the injury issues, you want to make sure it's fully guaranteed. You want to make sure you can still get paid. Like with Saquon, these other running backs. Like, I get it. Both sides make a lot of sense. You're like, man, without Saquon, this is not a good team. It's not a good offense. But they're pretty frequently without Saquon, so... But that was this week. That's me looking at it. I'm probably not going to record my picks today. Maybe later. I don't know. I'll probably try to do that pretty early tomorrow for sure before the game. But that's it. I'll see you later.